Did that come through okay?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, as alluded to just a few minutes ago, this really is about choosing your own adventure. And I think it's one of the fascinating things. By the way, I'm sorry, my name's Dave Wahl. I'm with the Rotary Club of Oakley. Been in Rotary about 17 years, most of it with the Rotary Club of Brentwood. 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to serve as the charter president of the newly formed Rotary Club of Oakley. So just having an absolute blast. And when we think about Rotary, I joined after I retired, and so a person might join at a younger point, but you could be a geriatric nurse and come into Rotary and then run youth services. I mean, you could just do anything you want, and you really can choose your own adventure as you plot out your Rotary journey. And certainly things are going to come up and a lot of things are going to change, but it's a fascinating opportunity to and my screen's going black. Oh, good. I hope it doesn't do that very often. So this is the audience participation part of the program, where I really would like to ask a couple of questions. I think we actually just already asked them, so we're in good shape there. Let me bring up something else on this screen. We have a brand spanking new person and some with more experience, and maybe we'll get some others going after that. So how many folks have, we just heard from Kevin, the red to blue, is that common throughout all of our clubs? Would you say that we have the red to blue process where you're doing a number of things prior to getting your permanent blue badge?
Based on my experience, yes.
Yes, okay, great. And you might not recall, is one of the items that you need to check off that you would choose a committee to serve on? It might be youth, it might be community, it might be foundation, it might be vocational. Is that relatively common where you really are encouraged? Obviously, we want all of our members to be engaged in some meaningful way, meaningful to themselves, certainly, and meaningful to the club, the community, and the world. So is that fairly common that you would sort of choose something to
Yes.
be with a group? Okay, good. So I think we're on all the same track there. And that really is that first step of choosing your way through and the different things you want to do. There's a couple of different things that I've had the opportunity to be part of, either by design or pure accident. And so what I'd like to do is share those and give individuals an opportunity to say, yeah, that might be something that would work for me, and give that a thought. And the very first one is become the club secretary. Now, Kevin, I'm really bringing this to you. I became the club secretary the first year that I was in Rotary. Don't leave the room. I don't turn off.
I can go anywhere.
You're off your camera here. Hear me out.
I'm gonna hear you out.
And I liken it actually to an experience that I had as a freshman in high school when my parents signed me up for typing. Now, I didn't go to a high school where a guy would get beat up for signing up for a typing class as a freshman, but there's certainly none of my buddies in that class. But as it turned out, it was the greatest thing that they could have done for me all through high school, college, and now. In fact, I don't want to seem like a braggart here, but I did pretty well. I got my numbers up there, and I got to sit in the front row of the classroom, which is where the electric typewriters were kept.
Yes.
Yes,
Remember those things?
indeed. So the thing that you'll find, now you're in a club with a whole bunch of people. I expect that you don't know everybody's name by now, but as club secretary,
Getting close.
you will get to know everybody's name and a whole bunch about them. And that's a real key. If you've got 40 people in the club and you don't know everybody, you're going to wind up becoming familiar with every single individual, because you need to make eye contact, get to make eye contact and exchange pleasantries every single morning as people come in. And that's a good thing. You'll also, maybe, not everybody necessarily is set up this way, but you might even be sitting next to the treasurer at the check-in table, and you'll learn what the treasurer does, and you'll learn very quickly, you don't want that job. You don't want nothing to do with that. Stay the hell away from that. Knowing what the treasurer does. There's nobody that's going to know what the treasurer does any better other than the treasurer than you, because you're sitting right there. So that gives you, I mean, that's really good advice there. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Good to see you today.
Good to see you. I just got done with the board meeting, so I will not interrupt you. Keep going.
Okay.
Football
So we're just
season.
talking about all the wonders of being the club secretary right off the bat, just early. You're going to learn about the club constitution and bylaws because you're going to be at the board meeting and you're taking minutes and people are going to be asking questions and you become sort of that authority because that's kind of your job. You're the secretary, right? So that just really forces you to do something that many members, I would hazard a guess, don't ever do, and that's read the club constitution and bylaws. So that gives you a leg up in the future, and you may get just super geeky and get into the manual procedures, and there's some fascinating things in there, believe it or not. This is the kid that took typing as a freshman, so maybe I did belong in there. And you get to get in the backside of DACDB. So again, there's a whole bunch of places that you get to go that normal people don't get to go by serving as secretary for your club. So I really, you know, if you've got somebody in your club who's been secretary for 5 years and it looks like they're going to be secretary for the next 5 years, you don't want to touch that. Don't mess that up. That's a thing of its own, and that's a thing of beauty, and that's wonderful. It solved the problem for the next couple of presidents, and you don't want to get in the middle of that. But if your club is recycling past presidents to fill that secretary's position, then that's why you would want to jump on that. Number 2, become the assistant bulletin editor. Now, this is obviously in reference to the wonderful past RI president, Cliff Doctorman from our Moraga Club. He likes to make fun of the lofty titles that we give each other, assistant bulletin editor being one of them. But seriously, how many folk, does everybody have a bulletin of some kind, whether weekly or monthly? Who doesn't have one? Anybody not have one? I can see you on my screen there. So does everybody have one?
No, we don't have one.
Okay, good. So you are right in line, even after 17 years, to become that assistant bulletin editor. And it's something that every club should have. And if you don't have one at all, then you don't even have to be the assistant. So again, I say that in jest. And you know, and I heard that the other day as I was watching Cliff Doctorman's on YouTube, if I could be president again, and back to that red to blue and that list of things that you're having your new members do. If you're not having your new members go back and look at Cliff Doctorman's YouTube video, and if I could be president again, really doing them an injustice. I would add that to my list of things to really get a feel for what's ahead. And again, he likes to talk about being the assistant editor. It's not difficult at all. I mean, there's MailChimp is a wonderful program. Constant Contact's another one. They've got templates in there for newsletters. It doesn't have to be a weekly newsletter. You can start off with a monthly newsletter and assemble just pictures of your presenters and things. Microsoft Publisher has got a pretty easy program. It was one that I used the year that I was secretary in 2005. And it's a lot of fun. And then DACDB has a beautiful newsletter that when you put articles in it, that suddenly shows up on your website if you have a DACDB website. So there's a lot of power in that punch. You could ask somebody in your club, you could put this out as a contest for whoever comes up with the best joke, gets it included in the newsletter so you can interact now with other people's in your club. There's lots of folks that think they're funny anyway, whether it's memes or stories and things. If you're Rio Vista, you don't have to worry about this. You get 10 Interact members at every one of your meetings anyway. But if you're not and you're affiliated with Interact or Rotary, that's a good place for that to go, especially if you have the president of those youth organizations writing the article for your newsletter. Gives them just a little bit more engagement and connection to your club. You can share this with, if you have a Friends of Rotary, and you're putting things on Facebook, for example, share that link. And all of the people who are interested in following your club, whether you're sending it to them automatically through MailChimp to all of the people in your database, or if you're just putting it on Instagram or Facebook so they can really stay connected with what you're doing and have a little look. And you can put in a few surprises. Now, remember, this is yours. Nobody else wanted to do it, and so they don't get to say. So you can have some fun. And we would Never. I think this is really important. We would never want to do something that would embarrass the president of our clubs. Wait, I got that wrong. We want to embarrass the president of our club every opportunity we get. And, you know, on the cover of the newsletter, there's typically a very distinguished looking headshot and a message from the president. So having that headshot gives you the opportunity to make that picture a little bit different every time that you have your newsletter come out, and whether it's the time of the year or the dates. And you'd always want to let the president know ahead of time. This is Matt Kaiser. He was the president in 2005, made the mistake of asking me to be secretary and then the newsletter editor, bulletin editor. And but you would never want to do this without telling them ahead of time what's coming, right? No, not at all. He or she gets to find out the day that rolls out. So anyway, have some fun. It's yours. If we're not having fun with all of this stuff, then we shouldn't even be doing it all. So number 3, get a little bit more serious here. Champion a service project. This is what we're all about, right? You got a lot of service projects in your club. There's another 2,000 that you've not done yet. Pick one and own it. Now, if somebody's getting tired of running the 3rd grade dictionary, somebody's getting tired of running the Rotary Home Team or the auto donation program, that's fine. There's lots out there that you can take up where someone left off and have a mentor. But owning something is something that is what members should do, and not everybody does. And the more we have people like yourselves that would do just one little piece, that makes the whole club and the whole community so much better. This is one that I would actually highly suggest. If you're not doing this in your club, it's relatively simple for one individual. Nobody is a one-man roadshow or one-woman roadshow, but painting these scaled maps on the playgrounds of elementary schools is just one of the most wonderful projects that I've ever been involved in. And if you're not doing it and you want to be that person that brings this and runs it and manages it, it's not a huge thing. It's about a $500 project. There's a great big paper template that you lay out and you tape down. You can't use too much tape. The first 20-mile-an-hour gust of wind that comes up, you'll learn why, because you'll be chasing the template across the playground, and that's not fun. We have pictures of that, actually, if you want a good laugh. So that template is about $200, and then you got 10 gallons of paint, good exterior paint, brushes, and all that stuff. The most important thing, the school will pitch in. They'll go out there on Friday after school and they'll power wash the area where they want that to be set up. They're just excited as the kids are going to be when they see it. So super good relationship there. I can't stress this enough. You really want to have young people down there on their hands and knees that are sharp enough. They get their phones out and they can tell you where the states are in the New England states, because the template can get kind of tough and crowded around that area. So having the youngsters down on their hands and knees and crawl around is really, really good. So definitely want to make that a key component. The public image bonanza is just nuts. I mean, the newspapers, the Facebook, the Instagram, everybody loves that. I don't know that this goes out to the parents if they have little pictures in their newsletters and things. But I hope that they do, because again, there's just so much excitement. But do be prepared to expand. If you do one, you probably got to do them all. Doesn't mean you got to do them all in 1 year. You could take 3 years to do it. You could do the ones that just fit for whatever reason. But again, that's a good project, and a good thing for choosing your adventure, to kind of sum that up, is to pick something that you love, something that will be a benefit, something that you can generate some interest from the folks that are going to be actually doing the work, and again, kind of be that person. Fourth, did someone have a question?
Dave, I'm just going to mention something real quickly.
Yes.
Because you're talking about taking on an existing project, but the great thing about Rotary is, if you're a member of a community and you see a need yourself, you can bring that up to your club and start a new project.
Oh,
And
yeah.
probably the best example of that is a doctor in the Philippines who decided it was really important to help eradicate polio in that country back in the late 70s. And lo and behold, the whole, In Polio Now, Polio Plus program began as a result of that member championing a great project.
Yeah, awesome point. Absolutely. And I should not have mentioned, we have plenty of time. If folks, if you want to raise your hand, whether it's the electronic one, I'll try and keep an eye on the chat, but we have, as I mentioned in the beginning, lots and lots of experience here. So please chime in with something. Thank you, Mark, very much for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's quite an example. Another one that I would hope would be a bucket list kind of a deal. I mean, some of these ideas are, fun and interesting and will involve perhaps years of service if it's, things that would be done year after year after year. Like getting in that treasurer spot. You get in there, you don't get out. So don't forget that. So, but finding an international project, and there's a lot of clubs, obviously, that are funding projects with global grants and then traveling around the world to be part of that project. That may or may not be something that you would necessarily work yourself into. Depends on the project, obviously. And when I say this is finding an international service project, I'm thinking of some of the ones that are organized by and for Rotarians, and our district has done that, and I'll show just a couple of quick pictures. That can be a fascinating way to go. This is the Brentwood Club down in Mexico building houses. When clubs get together and do these kinds of things, it would be rare that it would not be open to other clubs. So, keep your ear to the ground and make sure that if there's projects like this around that you can get yourself down there and be part of it, you certainly do. Another one with wheelchair distribution in Monterrey, Mexico. Fantastic project. Community service projects in the town afterwards, a little bit of sightseeing. This, of course, is put together by a company named Howard Tours that I'll talk about in a minute. Fantastic opportunity for service that comes on a fairly regular basis. Immunizing children in West Africa, another great example. There may not be quite as many of them today, but if you have the opportunity, I stress just more than I can imagine, making sure that you do that, putting it in the budget and having that kind of a vacation with 50 Rotarians traveling around the world. I put this up just because, and this is in October next month. Howard Tours, Kevin, if you're not familiar, owned by Rotarians, puts a lot of these trips together. This is in October back in Monterrey, Mexico. Really fascinating. Before we get off of this, again, I don't have a lot to talk about, a lot of slides. Just want to talk about it being something. Does anybody know if the Monterey trip is a go, if it might come around again in 2 or 3 years? Any news out there or other trips that anybody knows about?
Yes. There is a trip next spring to Guatemala.
Okay.
And that is to put in concrete floors and install smokeless, I don't know, what do we call it? Mark, help me, I'm losing the word. It's for fire and
Stove.
cooking.
Stove, so that people aren't,
Stoves, thank you.
don't have smoke from their cook stoves inside the house.
Yes, and that is headed by the La Miranda Sunrise Club.
Oh, good.
We have a group that's just getting back from Uganda on a wheelchair distribution project. We have a group out in India right now doing NID polio drops trip.
Mhm.
And we are working on a trip to Colombia as a friendship exchange, hopefully next February-ish. And I am missing another one, Honduras, I believe. I put in the chat that we have a international service project showcase tied to our website, and you can go there and see a number of projects we have done and projects that are upcoming if you want to volunteer. And I should also put a plug in that we have 2 sessions during this Fall Festival of Learning that are on the international service teams. And these sessions are all recorded and there will be access to those shortly.
Well, thank you for that. Fantastic. So lots of opportunities, lots of them.
And
All
there's
right.
probably far more than that. I've been raising my hand, but I'm not sure you can see it. I can't raise it on the screen. It's
Okay.
not working for me. But clubs are always doing, as you said earlier, club. And I think your best shot is to first see if any of the clubs in your immediate area are doing it. Because when you go, you're going to meet a lot of other people from your area who you will know, as well as people from other areas. But all the ones that were tipped off, I'm betting there are 3 times as many that are happening in the district. We only had a way of knowing about them because clubs don't show them on the showcase.
We're working on it.
I know you are. I know you are.
Step by step, but you're right.
All right. Well, that's great. The fact that there are so many opportunities really allows a person to realize that if they're going to save up the whatever they think it's going to cost, I think the Monterey, Mexico is about $1,000. So you start saving for that, you know that next year or 2 years, we'll come back again and do that. Some are obviously more expensive, but worth saving for and worth planning for in the future. So tip number 5, be a speaker at your club. Now, we would hope that, as you mentioned, Kevin, you just did you did a vocational, did you do the full program or 5 or 10 minutes?
Hang on. I'm sorry, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Right now, you might say I had 5 minutes, but I just probably took less time than that because I want to be more concise.
Okay, great.
And kind of focus on what I could do for Rotary as opposed to who I am sometimes.
Okay. So thinking about being a speaker at your club can have a whole bunch of different directions. One of them certainly is that first, my Rotary Minute, which can be about 3 to 5 minutes to talk about you, your family, your vocation, your career, whatever it is or may have been. Or it could be something, if your business is cybersecurity, you could certainly do a full program on cybersecurity, and you could do it for other clubs because it's a generic thing. It wouldn't just because you're a member of the club and you're wanting to get to know people, which was sort of the introductory that you did there. The other can be something about Rotary, and we have people that we can reach out to that are in the district. Steve Lack comes to mind, but has got a half a dozen of them, and probably everybody else on this call has a half a dozen as well that can be speakers that would come and talk to the club about something related to Rotary. You can do that too. You can be that person that has that level of expertise on something that is connects with you. It could be Rotaract or Interact or the foundation or whatever, and have that sort of prepared in a box and be able to then maybe annulate your club or some surrounding clubs to go out and share that. That can be a really meaningful part of a person's Rotary journey, to choose something that they really love, they become good at, they become the sort of the local expert, and then share that around with the rest. I'm going to show you one here, and I hope that this is something that you can do anytime that you would want to. Now, you probably have to have a little bit of gravitas in your club and be involved in foundation and have that as you move on. So the idea is this. We throw around all these words, and you're getting it now. There's fines and recognition and sponsorships and sustainability and fellowships and societies and all of this stuff. And where does all this money go? And it could get frustrating. And we're in a learning curve here. And your mentors, your sponsors are all teachers. And we have a whole bunch of people with educational backgrounds. They understand the concept of pedagogy. Pedagogy is not necessarily, pedagogy is more for dependent personalities or children. Not that some of our members wouldn't have that classification of children some days, but that's a different program. Andragogy is actually adult learning, and it's different. And in one of the couple of differences is that adults, number one, don't want their time wasted. And number two, they want to know exactly what you want from them. And so showing people and modeling the behavior and telling them and showing them examples so that they can have a plan of what to do with all of this giving. Where's the money going? What are we doing with it? What am I doing at the end of the year? Because, you know, Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. So the whole point is that adults need a plan of where the money's going to go. And we talk about 3 buckets. Now, your club may not be set up exactly this way, but it's probably somewhat similar when we talk about buckets of money, starting with the club bucket. There's money that goes into the club. Talking about the 501c3 or the foundation or the community fund or the endowment or whatever you call it, typically other people's monies. And then, of course, the Rotary Foundation. Those are typically the 3 big buckets that money goes into in your club. Let's talk about the club budget, club bucket at first. So this certainly is where our dues go and where, which goes right back out again. The money for our meals goes in there. It pays for DAC-DB, it pays for tax prep or PO box. It just pays for keeping the club running. The cost of doing business is that club budget, and that's a separate budget. There's a bunch of other money can go in there, and if it does, then you can buy other things besides just the necessities, like a giant rotary wheel to put on the back of a trailer for a vacation. Your rotary banners, a big 10 by 10 canopy, which are now about $1,600 for a really nice one that's printed on all 4 sides. You might have mini storage. You might pay for some district conference registration, holiday party, stuff like that. So that's all the club bucket in the money that if you're donating to the club and designate that, that's where that goes. And then, of course, we got our 501c3. This is usually other people's money, but there are people in the club, and you may in fact be one of them, where this is a priority for them. They want to do the hands-on projects in their community. The dictionaries, the Interact, Rotaract, Camp Royal Club, all of those things come from that 501c3, that nonprofit charitable organization that clubs set up for themselves so that when they're out raising money at their crab feed or their bocce ball tournament or their trap shoot or whatever it happens to be, that goes in there. And then people in the club like to donate to that too. They would designate a certain amount of money at certain times to go into there. Then, of course, the Rotary Foundation, the big kahuna. You know, the Rotary Foundation has the advantage of having Rotary Direct so that you can set up your contribution to accomplish the 7 areas of focus of Rotary automatically. We don't really have that with the club bucket. We don't have that with our 501c3 bucket typically. Maybe some clubs do. So those are the 3 places where those fines and that recognition and that sponsorship, all those things as money's flying around, is going to go into one of the 3 of those in this case. So let's look at how 3 different personalities, people with 3 different sets of resources, time in the club, might go about that. So we've got Rotary Rita, Rotary Rhonda, and Rotary Rob. So Rotary Rita is fairly new in the community. She's just opened up a flower shop. She's got a couple of kids. Her dad was a Rotarian, so she really understands what's going on. And she's going to budget just shy of $600 annually, above and beyond what she spends on her dues and her meals in the club. And she's got a plan for how that's going to go. A couple $100 will go to the club. Lots of folks do happy dollars. Some people do confessions if you go on a vacation, recognition if you buy a car. And she's going to designate $5, $10, $20 each time at the beginning of the meeting when the sergeant at arms is going around and collecting those things. From the standpoint of the 501c3, she's going to take kind of an entry-level sponsorship and buy a bunch of raffle tickets. And that's going to be her budget. She wants to support the things that are going on in her community. And so that's important that she gives money to that fund as well as works the fundraiser to collect other people's money. And then, of course, with the Rotary Foundation, she got it that it's important to be a sustaining Rotarian at $100 a year. So she's going to not necessarily do Rotary Direct, don't have to do it for everything. She's going to donate $75 every time her birthday and her anniversary comes around, where she can stand in front of the club and she can talk about that and talk about what she did. And she also is going to do a little bit for Polio Plus to make sure that every box is checked, and that's her plan. And it again satisfies and it matches her and her resources. Now, Rotary Rhonda, on the other hand, is a dean at a local community college. She got a pretty good salary. She's also the staff representative for the Rotaract Club. So she's very in tune with Rotary on a daily basis. She's been in the club for a few years, pretty well established. She's got a budget of over $1,200, again, above the club dues and what she pays for meals. And this is how she wants to distribute it, about $300. She'll put out a $100 bill to acknowledge having taken a 2-week vacation without a second thought. She'll even let you count all 6 wheels if you want to get into you got to count the flywheel when you buy a new car in $10 a piece for those. And so she likes doing that, and she's going to spend $300 a year. She values actually the club's 501c3 more than Rotary Foundation, and that's okay. She's really interested in doing projects in her community. She's going to do a little bit more on the sponsorship side at $250, a bunch of raffle tickets. And when her birthday and anniversary come along, she's going to put that money right into the 501c3, the community fund. She's discovered Rotary Direct and has got a couple of things going here in her plan. She wants to become a Paul Harris Fellow in about 3 years. So instead of doing the minimum to do that $100 sustaining Rotarian, she's going to put in $30 a month, going to go on her Southwest card. She'll get a couple of miles. She'll be a Paul Harris Fellow in less than 3 years. And she's also donating to Polio Plus. Not as much as some of us would like, but she is donating to Polio Plus. So again, she's got a $1,200 budget. That's her plan. Rotary Rob's in insurance, been in insurance for a long, long time, and he's unmarried. So you get the idea here. He's got a little bit extra cash to play with. He loves the happy dollars. He likes to share things about his life that at practically every single meeting. So there's $5, $10, $20. And when his birthday rolls around, he puts in $1 for every year, and that goes to the club. He designates specifically that that's going to go to the club account. For the 501c3, he's a little bit higher up on the sponsorship and a lot of raffle tickets. So he's going to spend about $600 for that fundraiser. And he's also obviously a Paul Harris Society member. That was something that's important to him. He puts $100 a month into the annual fund. He becomes a Paul Harris Society member and gets to celebrate that +1, +2, +3 each year as that money builds up. He's also very concerned about polio. And so the Polio Plus Society at $10 a month more than covers that. So again, a little bit more money, over $2,000. That's his plan. He thought it through ahead of time because he knew these are the kinds of things that are important to the club and how to designate that money to each of them. 3 different people, 3 different sets of priorities, 3 different sets of resources. Rotary works for them, and they've got all the things covered that they want to. And can you imagine, sticking with the theme this year, if every single Rotarian in every single club, what their community, and what the world might be like if every single member in the club were to do that. And I do want to mention that I shared this slide deck with some of the organizers, and I got some concern about the demographics, that perhaps the youth and vitality of Rita, Rhonda, and Rob were not actually really in alignment with what we have in our clubs. So I just want you to know that the baby boomers can do all of this, equally applies to them as well.
That's very good.
And the baby boomers surprisingly give a lot of money once they're in more than a year.
Yes. All right. Well, we do have, I'm sure, plenty of time. I don't have a clock in front of me. Yes, we do. Thank you very much once again for your attention, for your input, for the pieces about all of the international opportunities. Kevin, thank you for being here. We didn't get to talk to Mary Ann. Are you a veteran? You can turn on, as a matter of fact, everybody can turn on their mic if you want. As we wind down, we're at about 7:40. We can sort of close this off. If there's something that came to mind that struck you that you want to share.
This is Mary Ann,
Hi.
and I'm from the Dixon Rotary.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be president-elect next year.
Oh, congratulations. Wonderful.
Thank
wonderful.
you, thank you. So I'm just working on not working as much at my 44-year job, but so hoping to spend more time helping with Rotary and working on projects. And I like your ideas about picking a project, and I'm thinking of one for 2023. So,
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome.
Very, very good. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes.
Couple of comments. When I first joined Rotary, ancient history, I was told, by the way, the best talks in our club are usually given by members. And I would say, having been in the club now almost 30 years, that's consistently been the case over time. Because usually members of our club are often experts in their field, but no one in the club knows that. I don't want to say this is true of all members, but it's amazing how often people get up, talk about their expertise, not in the context of my career, my vocation, but I'm informing you on the subject. We go, wow, they were terrific. We forget how much talent are usually in our club simply by the kind of people we draw. Secondly, this is a weakness. I've been gabbing Foundation, Rotaract so much. And I talk about adventures, but I talk about adventures that they would experience knowing their interest. And what I realized in recent years, I've neglected ever talking about my adventures. And I've decided, okay, I'm an old guy. Maybe it's time to talk about what were the adventures that most challenged me. And I'm trying to redo some of my longstanding talks. It's interesting. What is it most you were excited by? And I was intrigued because in my club, you couldn't be a secretary unless you'd been in the club at least 15 years. You had to be in the 10 to 20 years to get to be a president. Now we even have presidents like my wife who've only been in the club 6-7 years. So we're making progress. But but I think you're absolutely right. The sooner you get thrown a job, the better it is. And most clubs are too scared to throw newer members major jobs.
Yeah. Good point. Good point, Fred. I'm just going to add that, what's really neat about Rotary is you can have the adventures within your own club, but then you may decide that you want to get more involved in what's going on in the district. Because one of the beautiful things that I know that Fred knows and Suzanne knows is that you develop so many, even more friendships with Rotarians when you get involved in a district level, perhaps as an assistant governor or member of a district committee. It just kind of enhances the intrinsic rewards that you enjoy being a member of Rotary when you extend beyond your own club. I mean, there's no hurry. You can work with you in your club first, but there are lots of other opportunities for the journey, beyond the boundaries of your club going forward.
That's such a great point, Mark. And I think that there are a couple of jobs at the district level that a person needs to have experience serving as president, but there are many, 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 many more that are not. And I don't know how many people know that. And I think we have a little project on this Rotary Basics, and learning more about the district is going to be a big plus. I think that's how that'll help get that word out. Great point.
I want to add a point to Mark. His wife, a future governor, next year's governor, was already in Rotary. My wife actually joined Rotary because of her experience in the district. It was not just she knew our club members had need, but it was seeing all the fabulous people she was making friends of traveling across the 73 clubs of the district that convinced her she needed to be a Rotarian.
I'll be darned.
I think that's happened with some other governors' wives, but I can't speak to it. Or spouses. Didn't mean to say wives.
Yeah. Well, I should share that when you think of, let's see what you were saying, Dave, how there was this perception that you needed to be a club president before you go to the district, and you had to be a DG before you went to the zone. In the start of the DG line training, which I guess was 2 or 3 years ago, it's all kind of a blur. But they made a point of saying, look for the people who have the skill sets and the talent. And so one person in our district, so if your club is in need in interest of membership, member engagement, those types of things.
Mhm.
Marcia Brown is our district membership chair. She's with the Brentwood Club. They're a very dynamic club, growing, and she's never been a president.
Great point.
You want to look at the skill sets of people who are successful. So,
Yeah.
Kevin, did you have your hand up some time ago?
Yes, I just want to say I'm so new to the club and I still have a lot to absorb. In fact, I think I've been around. I lost count. I think back in the middle of June sometime, and I'm still trying to understand what the club does. But I guess you might say in a very short words, I got one regret. I wish I joined sooner.
Yes.
But you know, again, I said in my speech, I say right now, I have a lot to learn. I mean, and of course, during this pandemic, we're all kind of in isolation here. I miss doing the volunteering work, which I have done in the past, and I enjoy doing it though. And one thing I did not mention during my speech, I mentioned to you right now, is my mother was involved with a church, something called Helping Hands, in which she volunteered to help out parishioners who needed some help. And so, like everything else in my life, it's perhaps in my blood sometimes. It's kind of my DNA, I guess, to help people out sometimes. And I've done it at work when I train people. And so very quickly, here I am.
Yay. Marianne, how long have you been in Rotary?
I have been in Rotary for 20 years.
Okay, very good. And you're finally stepping up to be president, or have
You
been
know,
president before?
I have been chair of many boards,
Uh-huh.
hospital boards, child haven boards, and it's teen center boards, and it's just, and plus working 50 hours a week. So, and
Yeah.
children and all that. So yes,
Got
I'm
it.
just now stepping up and looking forward to the next year. I've always enjoyed Rotary, and
Yes.
I was asked actually to join Rotary by Everett Whiting when women were first invited to join.
Uh-huh.
I went to a meeting. I was the only woman there, and I just didn't feel it was the right time. And probably 5 or 6 years later, I was invited by another Rotarian to come back, and I went back. And you know, there's kind of a joke in our club that the men felt they really would like some help in getting things done. So let's let the women in. So
Very smart. That's a good part.
Very
but,
good.
yeah, but we have a good time in our club. And recently I actually got the newest member to join our club. And he actually was suggested to me by John Waterman, who, when I
okay.
was up at training in Red Bluff, John, who I sold his first house to him back, I don't know, 35 years ago
Oh
or
my
so. So I
gosh.
knew him. And he suggested I call this person who lives in Dixon, and I did. And we got him in the club. And he
Mhm.
said to me, he said, you know, Marianne, this club 35 years ago sent me to Camp Royal.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Oh my gosh.
it's been, I need to know how I can find out who the Dixon Club for the past years has sent to Camp Royal, even going back 35 years ago or so, because I think that's a resource for getting new Rotarians.
Actually,
Marianne,
let me introduce you to Mark Roberts. Mark,
Well, unfortunately, though, we don't have that. That information is not available from the district. It
Okay.
really is. Yeah, unfortunately, usually each club, you know, we encourage them, because I'm the alumni chair for the district. And I
that's
think
why I was going to
Okay.
introduce you.
yeah. Oh, no, please do. But yeah, really, it's the club needs to do that. And of course, one thing you can do, anybody who's been involved in any Rotary program can create an account on My Rotary. They can actually go on to the RI website and create their own My Rotary account. That applies to interactors, Rotaractors, you know, Camp Venture, Camp Royal alumni. And that is the best way for them to keep in touch with Rotary, and very importantly for Rotary to keep in touch with them.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
wish I could be more helpful in saying that we had all, that information for all of the, the Dixon alumni, but unfortunately we don't. I'm hoping
Okay.
that, I guess, Marianne, you've probably looked within the club's own records and just can't seem to find that, that chronicled, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm still looking, so I'm going to see. But I think it's, as those people that are now in their 30s and 40s, and if they're still living in the area, I
Mhm.
think they would make great Rotarians. I'm seeing this in our Michael, who's first thing when I asked him to come to a meeting next week, he said, I'd be happy to. And I understand you're having a pancake breakfast this week. Do you need any help? And I went,
Awesome.
oh, yes. This is just the kind of person we need. So I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to be taking it on as a project. We've formed a 3-person membership committee for getting new members. And so we're meeting Thursday again. So we're working very hard at it.
Awesome.
Marianne, if there's, any thoughts you want to share with me, or, suggestions about, that you're finding help with the Dixon Club, reconnect with your alumni, let me know, because we'd like to share that information with other clubs, because you're
Okay.
exactly right. People who've had experience with a Rotary project as a young person are tremendous prospects to get involved in Rotary, later
Right.
in their careers. Thank you.
Okay. Can
To add
you
to our-
send me your cell phone number or email it to me, or?
Sure.
Okay.
I can find you, no problem. I'll do that.
Okay. Okay.
So I want to add to Mark, having been the alumni chair prior, that our I data suggests that 65% of past Rotaractors and Interactors say they'd be interested in joining Rotary if only they had ever been asked.
Wow.
But we have no idea who they are. You're not alone.
Yeah.
I knew of no club in the district that has an historical record of their past Interactors.
Wow.
Rotaractors. You're not
Mm.
alone.
We can
Okay.
start now.
Yeah.
Now you're making it happen. Fabulous, Suzanne. Good luck.
Okay.
Great stuff.
Mute off here. Well, once again, I think it's probably time to wrap up unless somebody has something else that they want to close with. Thank you very, very, very much for the opportunity. It was wonderful to see everyone here
Mhm.
this evening. And I'm sure we'll bounce in and out for the rest of the week, right? We've got a whole festival ahead scheduled this week. So
Yay.
that is very, very, very cool. All right, everyone.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Care.
Bye.
Great job.
Thank you,
Dave.
Dave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.